Time is not something that you use. Time is the basis of your life. Your life is time. Speed will crush time and space. So you can get from point A to point B in 1 year, or if you can get there in a day, that means you have 363 days on your hands. It's up to you, because it's such a brief life.
It's a kind of a mix that you have to go through, a bit of a dance. So on the one hand, you want to be serious about life. You want to realize what your life's task is. You want to develop those skills that will make it so when you're in your 30s, 31, 32 is that year where things turn around for people, right? But on the other hand, you don't want to be so damn serious, so damn linear in your thinking. You've got to head down this path to make this amount of money, etc. You're young. Have some fun, have some adventure, have some excitement. Also have that sense of discipline, that sense of purpose.
You have to start now. You're in control of your own destiny. You can be whoever you want to be.
If life is a race, what is the goal? You must get to the finish line faster than others.
Most important thing that you can use when it comes to being successful, the thing that's going to make your dreams come true, is simple discipline.
If I'm going to see success, I've got to define what sacrifices are required in order to step into it. I cannot have it, I will not see it until I've counted up the cost.
Every person needs to be their own hero. You need to be the hero of your own story.
Are you ready to show the world that you've only just got started?
This is the year I give it everything I have. This is the year I stop complaining about the past. This is the year that I don't make excuses. And if I see it in my head, I can hold it in my hand.
You made it! You went through all of the struggles, all of the challenges, but you made it.
Discipline is the single most important thing that you can use when it comes to being successful.
They want an easier answer. There has to be an easier way. There's not. I'm sorry. I searched for it my entire life.
Motivation is fleeting. No one wakes up motivated every single day. The key to success that you're looking for, the thing that's going to make your dreams come true, is simple discipline. Every person needs to be their own hero. You need to be the hero of your own story. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to help you.
And so I would copy the comic books and the heroes, and they had muscles, and I was like, one day I'm gonna be like that.
You have to suffer a little bit. You have to put yourself in a state of discomfort. Growth shouldn't be easy. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking to make things a breeze.
We're built to walk uphill. And when you reach the pinnacle of the hill, you want to stop and appreciate the vision, but the next thing you want is a higher hill in the distance.
You've got to learn to suffer. You've got to put yourself in a bit of an uncomfortable position. And if you can do that, then the results that have eluded you, you'll start to see them. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no magic pill. And there are no 3 easy payments of $9.99. If you want something, if you want to be good at something, you want to accomplish something, you've got to put in the time.
Because without that work ethic, greatness cannot be achieved. So you've got to really love what you're doing. You have to just go at it wholeheartedly. You've got to put everything into it. You've got to obsess over it.
If you want to be good at something, you've got to do it every day. Like we look at people like LeBron James. Why is he good at basketball? Because he does it every day. You look at Wayne Gretzky in hockey, because he did it every day. And so my number one piece of advice to people, if you want to be good at something, whatever that thing that you desire is, whatever your passion is, do it every single day. That's the real secret to success.
From 22 to 34, I worked every day. I went out, no weekends, I worked every day, every day. And if you want it, you want it. I wanted it.
So this idea of doing something every single day, just do the thing every day and be 100% present. Focus on the process. Don't focus on the end result. Again, if you show up, if you're all in and do that day after day after day, rewards will come. Don't let your emotions control your actions, or don't let your feelings control your actions. Rather, let your actions control your feelings. And so, it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to be depressed. It's okay to be sad. But don't act bad. Don't act depressed. Don't act sad. Do something about it.
Failure, hell, disappointment, discomfort is a great learning tool. And many people don't understand that, but it's these few moments in life that you have. Like for me, I always talk about it. Rocky 1, round 14. That 1 2-minute and 13-second clip of Rocky getting up when Apollo knocked him down. That one clip, when I was going through a very bad time in my life, I saw what I wanted to be. And it wasn't a guy that won. It wasn't a guy that won everything he did. It was a guy that kept getting up after being knocked down.
On those days where you don't want to get out of bed, get out of bed. Go for a walk. Nourish yourself. Do some exercise. Spend some time in the sun. And it's amazing how those negative feelings turn around. So again, don't let your feelings dictate your actions. Let your actions dictate your feelings. When we're young, we think things are just going to fall into our lap. We think opportunities are going to be there forever. We think that it's going to be our turn. But the reality is, you need to work hard for it, and you need to work hard for a really, really long time.
When I realized that I can learn through hard work, and I can beat the valedictorian in school, but I got put in 10 hours more a day than he does. You know what kind of strength comes from that? When you're sitting down, that guy that valedictorian studied for an hour, and you know I caught you, and I am dumb. But I have the work ethic to catch you. Having a discipline every day to say, for me to learn this one math problem, it's gonna take me 10 hours.
Wow. So don't lose faith. Don't get down on yourself. Don't get depressed. Don't get sad. If you show up, if you be the hardest worker in the room, and you do it for long enough, and I'm not talking even months or years, I'm talking decades, I promise you that your time will come. The second rule, be all in. When you're here, when you're in a physical space, when you're working out, I don't want your eyes on the TV. I don't want you text messaging. I don't want you playing on social media. I want you to be 100% present. I want you to be all in and get the most out of your time.
Where I got my work ethic from was the hours I had to spend learning this.
Your motto for 2024 is I will give more.
You made it! You went through all of the struggles, all of the challenges, but you made it. And here you are.
At some point, it's going to be too late. At some point, things you really want are going to be out of reach. But you're not at that point yet. There's plenty of time left, but only if you want it.
The truth is that you can defeat whatever it is that's stressing you out. You just have to stop focusing on what has already happened and start making things happen. It's time for you to be all in.
So, are you ready for more in 2024? Are you ready to show the world that you've only just got started, that the best is yet to come?
It is possible to accomplish what you see in your head. It is possible. The question is, can you give your all?
This is not the time to quit. This is not the time to go back down memory lane. You got to see your life directly in front of you. You got to trust in yourself and believe that if you made it this year, you can keep going a little bit further.
Don't wait for the perfect time. The perfect time will never come. You have to start now.
Be all in. or be somebody that leaves this earth with regrets.
If you're truly going to be all in, there are some things that you must be willing to let go of.
This is the year I give it everything I have. This is the year I stop complaining about the past. This is the year that I don't make excuses. And if I see it in my head, I can hold it in my hand.
Put the pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes. That's your motto. That's your slogan. That's the way you live your life.
But as long as you go in with a positive mindset and a strong will, all things are possible.
Be all in or be forgotten.
This is my year that I give everything I have.
Be productive, be strong, and from the bottom of my heart, 2024, conduct your business.
This is the year that I make an investment in myself. This is the year. This is not the year that I play around with my life. This is not the year that I sit and wait for destiny to hunt me down. I will hunt everything down that belongs to me.
You made it. You're here. The work needs to be done. Now you have to go a little bit further.
You say you want more, but are you willing to make the sacrifices required for you to get access to more? You have to have a laser focus. You have to have a no matter what attitude. You have to be willing to get up every single time you fall.
This is the year where you decide to think greater than you feel. You decide to get better than you've ever been before.
You have to start now. You're in control of your own destiny. You can be whoever you want to be. You can accomplish anything you want to accomplish. This just showing up stuff isn't going to cut it. You have to be all in.
It is possible to fully commit yourself to something. It is possible to accomplish what you see in your head, to hold it in your hand. It is possible. The question is, can you give your all?
Don't be afraid of failure, because this is the only way to succeed. I need you to embrace the setbacks. I need you to embrace the failures. I need you to embrace the adversity, because that's what's gonna make you.
Last year, you had some setbacks. You can't dwell on it. You can't hold on to it anymore. You got to focus on right now. And you must endure. And you must push. And you must fight. And you must believe that you got what you need inside of yourself.
If you are not giving your all, are you willing to confront you? Are you willing to go hard when it looks like you aren't making any progress?
Is that what you want? To live an average life? I know you don't. So do something about it.
This is your moment to decide. Will you continue on living the life that you have lived? Or will you unlock your greatest potential?
More pain is coming. But that doesn't mean that it's over. It only means that you have to continue down that path, that journey, that year, that moment. So many individuals are gonna have to face the reality that we are all going through some significant challenges throughout our lives. But you're here.
You know, I wrote a book on human nature, and the idea is we were formed hundreds of thousands of years ago in particular circumstances. Our brains are wired a certain way. Yes, we're very sophisticated. Yes, we have the internet. Yes, I'm here being interviewed by you on a podcast. It's pretty insane, but we haven't fundamentally changed. The same raw emotions of envy, of aggression, of worrying about our status, about having to disguise ourselves and appear like we're saintly and loving, that we don't have a shadow, which we all have. None of that has changed. Power is a feeling, it's an essence, it's an emotion. It's a human need and desire. So the way I look at it I like to look at it not through the lens of great power politics, but as an average, everyday human being here in the United States or in England. The feeling that you have with your children, with your spouse, colleagues, the people who work for you, the sense that you have no control, that you can't influence them with your ideas, that you can't get them to maybe, soften some of their ugly behavior if they have that, is the most miserable feeling a human being can have. The feeling of powerlessness is actually more corrupting than the feeling of having a lot of power. It turns people into being passive aggressive, into playing all kinds of weird games, negative games to get power. I read the biography of Mahatma Gandhi, and I realized that Mahatma Gandhi was actually a brilliant strategist, and he planned a campaign, several campaigns like the Salt March in the 20s, where he knew, for instance, that the English public was very liberal-minded. They had this ideal of themselves as being they weren't colonialists, they weren't imperialists, they were doing the best for the world. And he deliberately had these marches where he knew that they would be reading in their newspaper and seeing photographs of Indian people being beaten up by Englishmen and their Indian officers on the streets of wherever. It would have a terrible impact on the public. Okay, so there's Gandhi. Then there's Martin Luther King, who's somebody I wrote about a lot in The Laws of Human Nature. Another great icon whom I admire, who actually was inspired by Gandhi and had campaigns of civil disobedience. And an advisor came to him and said, look, we're going to have this massive march, and I can get a lot of elementary school and junior high school students to be on this march. And I think it would be great. And his advisors go, God, you can't do that. You can't put 13-year-olds at risk. And Martin Luther King thought about it very deeply. He said, no, we're going to go ahead and do it. Because I want the American public sitting in there all fat and watching their televisions to see children being water hosed and beaten, and it's going to have an incredible impact. He was being strategic, and his advisors were shocked by it, but it ended up proving to be one of the most pivotal, important moments in the civil rights movement. We all have this idea, like in The Laws of Human Nature, I write about irrationality, envy, aggression, or narcissism. Narcissism is a good one. Oh, they're a narcissist. I'm not a narcissist. I'm not self-absorbed, but they are. Yeah. I don't have any of those traits. Well, every single human being has self-absorption traits. We can't help it. We naturally think of ourselves first. Yes, there are people who are much deeper narcissists in life, no doubt, and there are toxic narcissists, but we all have a touch of it. I want you to be a little more humble in this world and not be so arrogant and not think that you are somehow exempt from having a dark side, that somehow you were born with a halo over your head, that you were born different, you don't have human nature, that you're a saintly person, you're much better. Get rid of your moral superiority, because I find that deeply offensive. We are all cut from the same cloth. We all have the same flaws. And when you look at yourself, and when I wrote The Laws of Human Nature, I'm going, Robert, you have a dark side. You're a narcissist. I had to come to terms with my irrationality, my grandiosity, my aggressive instincts. But it's the only way to change yourself is to be aware that you have these issues.
It's easy to kind of give into the excuses, or it's easy to feel like, look at an elite athlete and feel like there's nothing that you could take from their journey that you could apply to your own life. But there's solid principles that apply through every facet of life that genuinely start with kind of setting a goal and sticking to it and just being accountable for what you say that you're going to do each and every day. After I watched that Olympic Games when I was 4 years old, I kind of think of it as like, okay, that was God's grace of giving me something to hold on to, because at that time period, my mother met my stepfather. He was a strong alcoholic, a strong football player who used my mom as his punching bag. And being a young girl, seeing my mom abused so violently left its mark on me. So going to school was my escape. I realized that education was the only way that I was going to make sure that I didn't grow up in a household where my kids were wondering where their next meal was going to come from. I wanted to make sure that I put myself around people that didn't value alcoholism or drug abuse. And I really started paying attention to the university system and seeing that when people genuinely put action to the point of wanting to change their lives, they went and dedicated themselves to education. And so that's what helped me find that I wanted to go to school too. And I really started finding school as my sanctuary. It was a place where I could, develop in athletics and sports, but also to train my mind to be an intellectual so that I wouldn't have to repeat these cycles of abuse in my own life. And I think that's really what's catapulted me through all the different years of trials, tribulations. I dealt with homelessness and poverty growing up, domestic violence, growing up in a home with a lot of drug abuse and alcoholism. But I had that vision of going to the Olympics, and I had that skill of jumping. I put those two things together, and it was really the thing that pulled me through those difficult times. And I think that when people have those difficult times, you have to have something that brings hope and joy and has the power to propel you through difficult situations, because each and every one of us has them, but we have to be able to see outside of it. And when we lose hope, that's when we feel like giving up. And I think sometimes we have this situation right in front of us and it seems so big and so earth-shattering, and we feel it's just a huge stumbling block of us being who we want to be or being a contributor to society as a whole. And I think that if we stop making small, minute issues into monumentous mountains in our life, we will live a more fulfilled, more happy life. And so that is the best advice I had ever received. Yeah, so your body completely changes after you have kids. I remember after having my first child, my ankles were so weak and I needed to be able to put a tremendous amount of torque and force into the ground to be able to high jump. And I remember having to take it one step at a time. And I think that whenever we're at a certain level and for whatever reason we get knocked down, we just want to get back to that level so quickly. But we forget the process of being patient with ourselves and being very meticulous and strategic towards getting back towards where we want to go, that we could injure ourselves or we put ourselves through a lot of mental anguish. And so for me, it was no different. I wanted to put myself through that mental anguish. And I had just jumped one of the best jumps in American history, and yet now I'm struggling to jump a height that I cleared my freshman year of high school. But I realized that I had to put one step in front of the other, and I had to take it one day at a time. And by being consistent, I eventually was able to jump higher and get to the point where I qualified for the Olympic trials, and then I qualified for the Olympic Games. But I learned throughout that process. And a lot of people say hindsight is 20/20 vision. And they say it in a negative way, like, oh, hindsight is 20/20 vision. But it's the reality that you could take that 20/20 vision, apply it to the next time and do it again without falling into the bear traps. And that's what I did from one Olympics to the next. I figured out a process that worked. Especially now more than ever, we see that people are losing hope. And they can't see beyond their current circumstances, and they feel like their runway is too short. But I want to bring the fact that there is hope. There was a time period in my life where I decided that I didn't want to live anymore. And that was at that 20-year-old age. That's why it was so easy for me to go back there and say, and it was something dumb. It was a breakup. And just to see all the amazing and beautiful things that were waiting for me in life on the other side of that moment. I want people that are living in their 20-year-old devastation to know that there's life on the other side of it and to hold on to hope. Like, if she could do it, I could do it. If there were great things in her life after all she's went through, I could make it too. So I hope that's my legacy.
if you're suffering terribly, there's two options in front of you in some sense. One is you're suffering terribly and it's unjust, and you're suffering terribly because the cosmos itself. The other possibility is you're suffering at least in part because you're not everything you could be.
Most of us, we live in a box, and we don't want to go outside that box at all, ever. Outside that box is all these possibilities of life. I now know that there is no cap on the human mind. There's no cap. We cap it ourselves.
And there is a literature too that suggests that people are a lot more unhappy when they look back on their lives about the things they didn't do than they are about the mistakes they made while they were doing things. And so that's really worth thinking about too, because there's redemptive mistakes. And a redemptive mistake would be a mistake that you make when you go out and try to do something. You know, you think, okay, I'm going to try to do this. And you're not good at it. You make a bunch of mistakes. It's like, what's the consequence if you pay attention? You're not quite so stupid anymore. That's the thing, is you've been informed by the results of your errors. Take some stumbling steps towards it. And as you take stumbling steps towards it, you become illuminated and enlightened and informed because of the nature of your experience, because you're pushing yourself beyond where you are, and you're going into the country that you have not yet been in, and you learn something. And so if you stand still, you fall backwards. You cannot stand still, because the world moves away from you if you stand still. And there's no stasis, there's only backwards. And so if you're not moving forwards, then you're moving backwards. And that's more of the underlying truth of the Matthew principle. To those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken.
Everybody wants to get to a place, very few are willing to sacrifice to get there. Everything that has happened that's been good to me is slow. If you actually thought about your life in a 50-year window or an 80-year window, you would slow down. Everybody wants to succeed so fast because they want to prove something to somebody else.
I started down the road of, instead of the path of least resistance, I started choosing the path of most resistance to prepare myself for the journey that was coming my way.
Wow. And most kids don't prepare themselves for the most resistance.
No.
They want to get out of things.
They want to get out of things.
Get off the hook.
Right.
Don't put in the extra reps.
Right.
They want the easiest path to get to the top, right?
Right, exactly. We believe, like so many people, before I give them a workout plan, they're talking about recovery. Everybody that hears me speak, they want to go straight to recovery. Work out first. Work out first before you talk to me about recovery.
How to recover, yeah.
Work out first. You know, they want to put you in a box. They want to put a title on you. No, you're putting a title on me to make yourself feel better about yourself. I made this person. I made this person by diving into the insecurities that life gave me. Because now they're yours. They're yours to own. If you're not smart, call yourself dumb. It's okay, because you are. But take that, not as you're putting yourself down. If you're fat, call yourself fat. I used to be 300 pounds. We want to talk so soft to ourselves. We're looking for that recovery day. And that recovery day is everything in your life. Everything in your life is a recovery day. We're looking for it. It's not coming. It's not coming. Get over that recovery day. And that's the mentality I took with me. When you start to build yourself up and start to have the one thing that we don't have is confidence.
Yep.
Real, authentic confidence from hard work. Everything else goes away. You no longer look to other people for your self-esteem.
For validation.
That's right.
Yeah.
You now know. I walk in a room now and I know the hours and years and decades I put into David Goggins. That's something, it's not on the wall. It's not a trophy on the wall. It's not a medal around your neck. I don't care how you perceive David Goggins, because through my journey, I figured out the one piece I was missing. I thought it was cars. I thought it was women. I thought it was money. I thought it was everything. The one piece I was missing was me having the courage to face myself.
How do you maintain focus when something hard happens, big crash, and then you got to go back in? Is that a challenge for you?
It is a challenge, but it's important skill in this sport. Whether we're talking about small mistake or a big mistake, it's a certain skill that you need in this sport to be able to deal with those mistakes, whether it's a small or big one. And I think in that thing for me, what's the most important is to be like self-honest and accepting, okay, yeah, I messed up, and what's the best thing next that I can do? Usually it is to understand the mistake, why it happened, how can I prevent it from happening again, and then move on, then don't look back.
So I think like you kind of had this confidence that's really been with you through your career. You know, just hearing the way you describe it. Have you ever lost your confidence?
Yeah, I have. I have in my career many times, and I think probably the worst one was 2018, which is my second year at Mercedes. The whole season just didn't quite start well, and I started a bit over trying, and then eventually there was a bit of a gap between me and losing the points, and I just became having to be in the support role. And to accept that, that was really eating my confidence. Because of course I wanted to be there to win and, you know, do things my way. But yeah, having to be in the support role, that was hard to accept and definitely lost the confidence, especially towards the end of the year, to a point that winter I was this close of retiring from the whole sport and to walk away from F1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty deep. And now when I look back at it, it almost looks and feels a bit like silly, but when you're in your thoughts and, you know, not in a good mindset, yeah, things can be tricky.
Have you gone through dark periods in the sport?
I have. Like when I had this overtraining period, which totally to like recover fully from it, while I was still obviously racing actively, it was almost 2 years that I got to the same fitness than before. And at the same time, mentally it was quite tough because I wanted to train, I wanted to, you know, feel good, but yeah, so at the same time, eventually when, yeah, like physically your body is on the limit or tired, you can always kind of deal with just mental strength, just push through and adrenaline, but at the same time your mental reserves also start to go down. It's a bit like a battery, and I definitely hit that bottom, and felt it was a good eye-opener for me that, okay, I need to figure something out and find a different way if I want to have a long career. I've definitely learned that sometimes I've overdone things, like I pushed myself too hard. In terms of my mental and physical capacity, I found my limits earlier on in my career. It was only 2014 I managed to get myself into this like overtraining syndrome. So just really, the whole body was like tired, stressed, not recovering anymore. I was training too much, eating too healthy or too little, let's say. And I found my limit. And that as well, that was pretty good eye-opener mentally for me. Like, maybe I need to have something else sometimes than F1 if I want to have a long career. Because yes, you can have great career, but a short one if you don't take care of yourself. You're burning the candle from both ends. It's not sustainable. So that's something I've learned, to find your own limits. Like,
how do you balance when, I mean, I'm guessing that in your DNA is to win. How do you balance your ambition with results when they're not where you want them to be?
Yeah, it's not easy, because naturally you always want to win everything. That's been in me since a child. But you gotta understand this sport. There's normally only 1 or 2, sometimes 3 drivers that can realistically fight for the title and consistently be on the podium. That's how it goes, because you need to be in the right team, in the right time. But I know the name of the game. Like my first year in Formula 1, we had not a great car. I was there pretty much at the back most times. Sometimes I think I only got once in the points in my first season. So yeah, and then next year things started to go better. But again now, like 2023, it's been a challenge. But what motivates me is the future, because I still have my goals. I know that there's always ups and downs, and the main thing for me is remind myself what I still want out of the sport, and that's still to get closer to the top, eventually get back on the podium and even winning.
Change is rarely easy. So when you set out to achieve transformational change of that magnitude, I found trust is the essential element. Whether it was in the 1980s growing GMF into the largest manufacturer of industrial robots, even to this day, or in the 1990s when Raz's breakthrough mechanical design software forever changed the way engineers work, or 20 years ago when Ariba invented B2B e-commerce to move business at light speed and whose network transacts $3.7 trillion per year, more than Amazon, eBay, and Alibaba combined. I've certainly learned that whenever you're starting companies from scratch, people have to trust you, they have to trust your product, they have to trust your processes, and they have to trust your company.
What's the life lesson? Like, what's the thing you'd want anyone who's kind of growing up right now to really hear from you?
I've been doing transformations my whole life, right? I can't do anything without kind of stirring up the pot. And I think the thing that I want to get across is the world needs more transformational leaders than ever before to deal with a fragmented world. You know, the rate of change is happening so much. We need principled leaders who can solve complex problems. And, you know, I think the only way to do that is to jump in water over your head, you know. And you know, that's something I've been doing my whole life, because if trust is the most important word in any language, then change is the most powerful one, because without change, you don't develop, prosper, or grow. And in the business world, you're either changing or you're dying. And the best way to deal with the future is to invent it.
Trust is the basis of every relationship, whether it's business, personal, or otherwise. And you partner with people you trust, you do business with people you trust, you buy from people you trust, and you love people you trust.
And so it all boils down to trust. And if you think about it, you know, what's your most valuable asset if you're starting a company? Well, it's your trusted relationships. So what's one of the most important skills? It's building trust. And everything in the business world is divided by time. So the most important skill is how fast can you build trust?
So for those who are, you know, student, young professional, thinking, okay, I buy into this idea of trust, but how do I do, like on a Wednesday, how do I start to build trust? I show up to work tomorrow, what do I do to build trust? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, well, first of all, you got to trust yourself. And, you know, that's, because you can't trust anybody else unless you trust yourself. And, you know, I found a way to build that trust is keep jumping in water over your head. You go into a new environment, go into a new company, something like that. So how do you build trust? Well, you do it one-on-one. And so the question is, can you build trust at a lunch? Can you do it at a dinner? And what I found, one of the things that works is you can't be afraid to be vulnerable. Because when you're vulnerable with somebody, about 95% of the time, they'll reciprocate in kind. And when both sides are vulnerable, that forms a connection.
My transformational journey has been at high velocity with diverse adventures every few years. By living on the edge, I've experienced plenty of adversity and lots of opportunities to learn from my failures. And if there's anything I've learned, that's when you learn the most. Each new chapter builds on the last one and involves the risk of jumping in water over your head. After a while, that adrenaline rush becomes so addicting that I can't imagine my life without it. I call it scary fun. To quote one of the greatest transformational leaders of our time, the biggest risk of all is that we stop taking risks at all.
You know, I've had the good fortune of living the American dream. And I feel really, really blessed. And so I think that was one of the things my parents obviously my drive comes from my upbringing, and it's about paying it forward and giving it back. And so if you look at the things, whether it's what I did in higher education or in the business world or in public service, it's all about that next generation.
I don't know if I would kill people, but I would have gone to jail for a long time for Facebook. And that was everyone who was there. So yeah, we were willing to kill for what we were doing. We're not Navy SEALs. We're a bunch of tech nerds, can barely do nothing. And there's a lot of crazy stuff around it, but really I would say what was most shocking is just how convicted we were about what we were working on.
Hustle is putting it all on the line. Hustle is waking up one day, the day before you die, and realizing you gave it your all into the parenting of your children, the building of your businesses, the philanthropy that you wanted to do. Whatever you define, it's just all in, emotionally and executionally, in theory and strategy and in execution.
Oftentimes, the person who stops you from running the marathon is nobody else but you. If you want to start a business, the person who's stopping you is nobody else but you. If you decide to run the marathon, somebody's gonna have an opinion of you.
But sometimes you have to let other people's dreams for your life die for yours to live. And for me, it was when I continued to every day not want to wake up, that was my wake up call, where I was either I continue to live this way or I just risk the fact that I'll die to everybody else. And I think that it was the hardest decision of my entire life, by far.
I do believe there's a misconception, and something that most people get wrong is that you can't do what you enjoy or passion or dream about and make a lot of money doing it. I don't believe that.
To me, hustle is maximizing the energy you're putting into somebody. I'm blown away by people saying that they're hustling and they want to achieve these great things and then their actions don't match. It's like saying you really want to lose weight while eating a Big Mac, right? So to me, hustle would be putting all your effort into achieving the goal at hand. And for me, that means making every minute count.
One of the biggest breakthroughs for people is just getting started, because Zuckerberg really has done one thing. He started Facebook. But all these people, specifically Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, all these people really just did one thing. But everyone who has day jobs is I'm gonna create 4 passive income streams and I'm gonna do 50. I'm like, well, that's cool, but what the crumbs of the most successful people on the planet are just doing one thing. So I'm gonna probably go over there and copy them.
And successful people are about that. They are good decision makers. They are hyper resilient. They don't stop at failure. They don't get in their own way from an ego perspective. They're looking nakedly at their own inadequacies. And they've got enough confidence to get people going behind them. I know about myself. I will keep going until I figure this out. Not that I already understand everything, that I have the courage to figure this out.
But I think people don't swing enough. They don't even get started swinging, and that's, they're not ready on the sidelines. And there's never a good time. The best time is right now. It's not yesterday because that passed. It's not tomorrow because you don't know. It's right now.
Who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks.
You like your current state enough that you like the pain of change thing, right? You're not in enough pain. I've said that to plenty of people. We go speak and someone's like, how do I get motivated? I'm like, you're not going to get motivated. You have to hate. For me, I automatically go there. I'm like, you have to hate something. For me, I just hated my current existence. And so for me, that was powerful enough to get me out.
So if you can manage your emotions, if you've got the courage to fight through that storm, if you're not easy to knock off your pedestal and you're humble enough to know that you're almost certainly making mistakes so that you know when to correct course, that's the recipe.
How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain, oh, I don't have this. There's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more? That's probably about the 98%. 2%, like Sean and others at our team, are saying, here's all the money I made for the company, here's comparables, here's the salary you should pay me, and you're lucky to pay me this because it's so less than I'm generating from the business, and let's do it in this time frame. It's resourceful. It's figuring it out.
We stop ourselves when what we need to say is, not everyone will be for us or about us. Do you accept the terms of that? And if you say yes, then do the dang thing and do it to the best of your ability.
And then that's going to put you in a far more powerful position to move forward. So the people that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of a storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions.
You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got to 10x today and you got to 5x. If you're not 5x, then you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year. And it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired. You can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future.
I believe everyone is born with the ability to apply effort. I can't prove that. Some people might be, I know I was not destined to be a basketball player. Some people were born with that specific skill. But I do believe that we can build potential by using effort and making the choice to commit to something. So I can't really prove that you're supposed to be something, like you should be something, but I can say that with choice and effort, you can go really damn far. You can't outdo the need for time and consistency. Intensity still has its place, don't get me wrong, but misplaced intensity, I feel, is the #1 reason why people fail their goals. And that's not just fitness. That's with business, that's with personal relationships, that's with everything. Instead of just adding intensity, you have to be consistent over time. Not consistent for 2 days, not consistent for 2 weeks, over time. If you do the work, you will more than likely get there. But if you don't do the work, you definitely won't get there. So if I'm in between a possibility or likelihood and a definitely not, I'm gonna go with the possibility and likelihood. And that's by doing simple work. You don't have to go crazy. Do the work. Just because you're in a library doesn't mean you're studying. And I can promise you, going into a bank doesn't make you a millionaire. You have to do the work. You have to put in the time, and you have to give yourself the energy. Are you trying your best? Only you can answer that. Because on days I can only give 60%, and I give 60%, I give 100. I respect those people so much more that can only give a little and give it their all than a person who has endless potential but chooses to only give 60%. Effort is everything, and you can decide, are you putting in the most amount of effort that you can? Motivation comes after action. The question is not how do you develop the motivation to keep going? The real question is, how do you develop the discipline to do the stuff you need to do even when you don't feel like doing it? Floss 1 tooth. Go to the gym and lift 1 weight 1 time. Then you can stop. Then you can go home. Then you can stop. More than likely, because you already got there, because you already started, you're going to finish. Getting there is the majority of the issue. The discipline to start, that's what you need. The motivation to keep going comes after the action to start. So on those days you don't feel like it, if you know you need to, you have to. It's the same thing with a job. I can promise you, almost anyone who works a job, they've had those days where like, I don't want to go to work today. On their way to the work, they're still going because they tell themselves they need to. And I could ask both of you, do you need to work? And more than likely you'd probably say yes. I could ask anyone watching, do you need to work? And more than likely everyone would probably say yes. And I will say, no, you don't. That's a lie. That's a lie that you're telling yourself. You don't need to work. You could be homeless. You could give up everything you own and you could live on the streets. You could. So it's not a need, it's a want. It's a desire to not be homeless. It's a desire to maintain the life that you have. And if we have an ability to turn a desire into a necessity like we do with our job, you have the same ability to turn a desire of fitness goals into a necessity to do it regardless of how you feel. So I was born with a physical disability. I was born with 2 fingers on my left hand and a shorter left arm. And now I have a super cool bionic arm. But the majority of my life, I hid my disability. For 17 years, I hid my hand. I was bullied. I was so depressed, and mental health just wasn't a thing for me because I was just a one-handed guy living in a two-handed world. When everyone stares at you, when everyone makes fun of you, when you're kind of segregated and shown to be the monster, it takes a toll. And unfortunately, there are so many labels that get put on people, especially people with disabilities. When you think about synonyms for disability, you think of weak or broken or useless or helpless or less than. And I don't know if you can imagine being a kid living a life they didn't ask for, being labeled weak or broken. So that really hurt me. And for 17 years, I hid my disability up until a few years ago. So I had to build this persona of fake confidence, and I kind of became that person that everyone's like, oh yeah, that's just the guy who hides his hand. But I had this fake sense of confidence about my disability and pretended like it didn't exist. And I did that for almost 20 years. I tried to do everything to numb out the pain of being different, the pain of feeling like I wasn't enough. And I know a lot of people can probably sympathize with that. We go through so much, and it's so much to deal with at once that we want to run from it, we want to hide from it, and that's what I did. I hid my hand, I hid my feelings, I hid my emotions. I tried to numb out the world, and more specifically, I tried to numb out my world by running from something that, one, I didn't ask for, and two, I didn't deal with. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease, at 19 years old. And that was a massive wake-up call. That was a catalyst for asking the most important question I've ever asked myself in my life. What can I do with where I'm at right now to make this suck a little bit less? And that question just constantly went on in my mind. Like, how can I become more than what's happened to me? How can I become more than this circumstance that I hate? But how can I not let that hate towards a circumstance I can't control me? And I just started asking myself that question over and over. And my decisions, my behaviors, my actions, my thoughts started to replicate, that question. And I really feel like that question was the catalyst to get to where I'm at now. We get addicted to this, making everything beautiful, making everything amazing. And sometimes we have to be real. Some situations do suck. They do. And we have to allow them to suck and not invalidate the fact that it does suck. Now, there's a difference between dwelling on something and acknowledging the reality of something. For me, I was like, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that I don't like this. But I'm also going to acknowledge that I don't want to stay in this feeling, because if I already have to go through this diabetes, I already have to go through being different, I already have to go through feeling like a monster, I don't have to beat myself up in my own head, If you get a flat tire on the side of the road, you don't set your car on fire. You deal with the flat tire. But that's what I felt like I was doing, and a lot of people do. A lot of people set the car on fire. Instead of addressing the main issue, they build upon it and make it worse. So that question really built and built and built. Now, a good question doesn't lead to an amazing outcome immediately. It still took me 5+ years, 6+ years to get the most comfortable and confident with who I was and figuring out that question. But that was a catalyst for sure. The 20-year-old version of me take that advice. You have a right to what you're feeling, but just because you feel it doesn't mean it's real. Feelings are not facts. And I would try to get myself to question those negative thoughts and really try and understand that just because you feel a certain way, just because you feel people are staring at you, just because you feel less than, doesn't mean you have to invest in that thought. If we all invested in every thought we had, we'd probably be crazy, We get some negative random thoughts that come across our mind sometimes, and I'm not a crazy positivity hippie, so to speak. I wouldn't be standing in a burning building chanting positive affirmations. I would get the hell out. My job is to not let my mind take over, and that's when I win and when I lose and everything in between. So in talking to that 20-year-old version of myself, you're valid for what you feel, but at the same time, it's not a necessity to act out those feelings. You have a choice between what you think and what you do, and that choice is everything.
Everybody's story starts off the same way, on an average, ordinary day. You don't expect to wake up and all of a sudden your life change, but it does, and from time to time, and we don't have the tools quite often to deal with it when life hits you that hard.
Spencer Beach's life changed forever when he found himself engulfed in a flash fire, receiving 3rd and 4th degree burns to 90% of his body.
So I woke up on April 24, 2003, just an average day. I had a feeling in my stomach about a job I was being sent to. Now, in the new home industry, flooring is the last major trade to go in. And we just put the wrong color of flooring throughout the main level. Well, my employer had a method where you take a chemical, you dump it all over the floor, let it soak for a couple moments. The chemical would reactivate the glue, and the flooring would peel up in sheets. Saved us tons of time, loads of money. Unfortunately, it came with a side effect. It was highly explosive. And I had two instructions. They were to turn the thermostat down to its lowest setting and open up doors and windows for ventilation. 4 in the afternoon, the sun was going down, temperatures were cooling off. And I had both the doors open, so when the thermostat read that outside temperature being below the 16 degrees Celsius, the furnace kicked in. It pulled the fumes down the cold air return, ignited them at the furnace, shot them back up, and created a violent explosion that I was in. When the fire started, I had no clue what was happening. All I knew was just a second ago, this was a normal house and now I am engulfed in flames. I sprung up from my knees and I reached out and grabbed onto the front door handle and I pulled with all my strength. Honestly, this door was opening just fine a second ago and now it's not opening at all. So I just let go of the door handle, I turned to my right, I ran through the hallway, past the half bathroom and into the laundry room where the garage entry was.
Was everything fire at that time?
Everything's fire, and the entire area I was working. It's the fumes that were burning, so the entire room, the area was filled with fire. In that moment, I thought about my wife, Tina, and she was 4 months pregnant with our first child. I thought about how I was never gonna hold her again, kiss her, take her on a date, have dinner with her, and I was never gonna know if I had a boy or girl, what color their hair was gonna be or their eyes, what their name was gonna be. I'd never throw ball, play catch, teach them sports, walk them down an aisle, take them to school. I was gonna miss everything. We've all made our lists of first, and a list of first is it's a fun list to make, right? Like first time I went on a date, or first time I kissed somebody, first time I got an A, first time I got a trophy, first time I drove a car, all these things are the first time. Those are exciting lists to make, and they're fun lists to make. But if you get injured and your life changes really quick, you go through some kind of trauma, you get to make a different type of list. And it's the list of lasts. Last time my friend called me. Last time my spouse told me she loved me. That's not a fun list to make. Tell me one problem you had 5 years ago.
It's hard to remember. You don't even think about it, right?
But at that time, I guarantee you 5 years ago, you had stuff going on in your day that were stressing you out and overtaking your day. And yet they were so meaningless, you can't even remember what they are 5 years ago later.
Yeah, and in the moment, it's everything. It's like, everything. If I don't pass this exam, my life's over, right?
Just totally leaves your mind.
Yeah.
The only thing that anyone will ever bring up is if someone in those most important thoughts was impacted. When I was in this near-death experience, all I could think about was my wife and my unborn child. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about that job. I didn't care if it ever got done. I didn't care about paying my bills. I didn't care about planning my friend's bachelor party that night. I didn't care if he ever got married. I didn't care about nothing other than my wife and my unborn child. Outside of the house, I was screaming my life was over. In the ambulance, I was begging the paramedic for too much medication. I didn't actually want to make it to the hospital. I don't know what came over me. I must have stopped thinking about myself and started thinking about Tina and our little baby. Because my exact words were, I don't care. Do what it takes. I don't want to die. I just chose a direction. Let's fight. But I was a blind direction. I had no clue what the future held for me or my family. You can't stop change even if you tried. Your life is all about change. Every moment of every second of your life is changing. And if you can't stop change, all you can do is have a hand in its outcome. So why not work with that change? Yes, your life may not be completely pleasant right now. Not everything sucks, but you know what? It's not also extremely horrible. Let's hold on to those positive things. And let's see what we can do with them and work with the change. So we expect instant gratification. There is no one that goes through trauma or hardship or life circumstances where time is not the solution. You need to allow the time to happen. You can't expect everything to change on a dime. It's not going to. And you need to work with it. So work with it and let that time happen. And I guarantee you, if you work with it and let the time happen, you will go 5 years into it, look back and go, I didn't see this outcome.
The basic misunderstanding is when people use the word life, they are talking about their work, they're talking about their family, their relationships, their wealth, their money. No, these are all accessories, frills to life. Right now, this is the situation of the modern world. People have too many frills, but no skirt. There's no profoundness to life, too much decoration. Where will it go? It will only lead to more frustration. If you are a toddler, you have diaper problems. If you become an adolescent, you have hormonal problems. If you become middle-aged is a crisis. If you become old, it's horrible. Tell me which part of your life is good. Don't make everything into a problem. These are different stages of life. You can either ride that and enjoy it or be crushed by the same thing. This is the process of life. Physical life is a natural cycle. Everything that's physical is a cycle. Whether it's an individual atom or the cosmos, everything is cyclical. That's why physical is possible. So it all depends whether you're riding it or being crushed by it. Life is a cyclical process. You just have to learn to ride it. For that, everybody has the necessary faculties to do that. It is just that you have not kept yourself pleasant. You're trying to make yourself things that you're not. There was one young man running around like his tail is on fire. Then I asked, hey, what are you up to? He said, Sadhguru, I want to earn $1 billion, $1 billion. I said, you don't worry, tomorrow I'll give you $1 billion. Really, Sadhguru, you'll give me $1 billion? Yes, I will give you $1 billion. He had 8 of his friends with him. I said, see these 8 guys, I'm going to give each one of them $10 billion and I'll give you $1 billion. He said, Sadhguru, why? They're getting 10… Arey, your life's ambition was only to get $1 billion. What are you complaining about? The problem is, if everybody else has it, you cannot enjoy it. So you have a sickness. You only enjoy other people's failures. Right from kindergarten school, you have been taught this, you must be number 1. Then what must be the others? What must the other children be? They must be all below you. So you always been taught that joy and happiness is always about enjoying other people's failures, other people's incapabilities. This is not joy, this is sickness. If you get rid of this sickness, everything will be fine. This is what human beings are suffering. Human beings are not suffering their bondage. Human beings are suffering their freedom. You are free to make yourself whichever way you want. See, no other creature on the planet is referred to as a being. Only you are referred to as a being. That means you know how to be. If you know how to be, would you like to keep yourself in the heights of pleasantness or unpleasantness? Tell me.
Pleasantness.
So all the advertisements are about this only because people have given up how to be pleasant here. They are trying to export themselves somewhere and there are advertisements saying somewhere up there is a heaven where the utmost pleasantness will happen, peace will happen, joy will happen, bliss will happen, love will happen, everything is up there. This is because you have given up that you could be pleasant here. So if you export everything that's wonderful about a human being to another place, the world doesn't become better. We need to understand that whatever qualities that you're ascribing to God and whatever else that you have imagined in your mind, these are all qualities which are very essential for a human being to live a sensible life on this planet. So everybody knows this, that they need to be pleasant. It is not an idea or a philosophy, it is a longing. Life is longing to be experiencing life pleasantly, isn't it? You want to be peaceful, see, it's like this. Pleasantness means what? If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. Do you want it? Ask all your people who are looking for inspiration, do they want health? You want health. If this body becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. That also you need. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace.
Yes.
Yes. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. That also is needed. If your emotions become pleasant, we call this love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your energies, your life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy. If your surroundings become pleasant, we call it success. Only to create pleasantness in your surroundings, you need the cooperation of the people and the forces which are around you. But to create pleasantness of body, mind, emotion and energy is 100% your business. If this much everybody takes care of, then what to do in the world we can see. If there's something to do, we will do, otherwise let's take a walk, let's climb a tree, or go swim, or just sit still, do whatever the hell you want. But the important thing is, you'll have no need to do anything. If something is needed, you will do it. If nothing is needed, you can sit here joyfully. What's the problem?
40 miles away, I was about to have a life change. And so, mindset is a different perspective, because then you get the miracle mentality. All of a sudden you're thinking uncommon, not normal, not regular. And you begin to see those things that have not yet happened as though they're possible. So before I became great friends with Oprah, I saw myself being great friends with Oprah. So when we started talking a lot, it didn't throw me off.
I've had this conversation in my head.
I've envisioned these conversations. This is some mind-boggling stuff, but I saw it before it even happened.
No kidding.
I saw it.
What's most important for somebody to think about, if they're in that kind of teeter-totter moment right now?
Yeah, I think that all of us are going through recovery and discovery at the same time. Recovery of things lost in the past, recovery of things lost and that we're challenged of in the present. But in the midst of recovery and discovery, let's not lose the beautiful moments that can happen now. And I think we got so caught up in the challenges that we didn't pay attention to the beauty of life. What I teach is that we all have what I call life interruptions. An interruption is a disturbance. You've had them, I've had them. It could be when somebody's young and they get ill, or their parents get divorced, or in this case, my father passed. So it's a life interruption. And then when most people have that life interruption or setback, they don't know how to get out of it. And so that's one thing that I think created a calling in me, that I wanted to help more people that had life interruptions find a way up and out. So when somebody has a setback, what happens to them, most times they go very singular, they go really inward. So if they go through a divorce, they go very inward, or they lost their job, they go inward. Anxiety or depression, pandemic, they go very inward. But when you have a setback, the first thing you gotta do is you gotta become awake. You gotta become conscious, and you gotta say, oh my gosh, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we may need to be locked down for a month. A month turned into another month, and then to over a year, right? So number one, become awake. Secondly, you have to take inventory. Where am I financially? Where am I with my job? Where am I with my mental health? How is my family doing? How's my country doing? How's this world doing? So number one, you become awake. Secondly, you take inventory. But here's a powerful thing. You have to partner with the right people. I feel that a lot of people, when they have a setback, they don't have the right people to partner with. So that's what I always wanted to become, and that's what I became. I wanted to be the person that somebody could link hands with and say, come on, Tim Story, you may not know everything, but you know how to get people from a setback to a comeback. I'm the partner, power person. With anybody that I'm dealing with, I take them through those steps. You gotta wake up, take inventory, partner with the right people. Now, when you partner with the right people, that means you're gonna probably have to eliminate some people that are not the right people. And this is what I see with a lot of people that are in a setback. they need to cut some people back. Don't live in the mundane. Don't stay in the messy. Don't stay in the madness, but make room for the miracles. And I think that so many of us that we get so caught up in the mundane, and then the mundane escalates to the messy, and then it escalates to the madness, which is the chaotic, that man, where's the magical? When we were kids, it was like, can we play? No, but you gotta clean your room. But then can I play? But then you gotta go to school. But then can I play? Remember, we were always looking for magic. The miracle mentality teaches you how to get through the mundane, the messy, the madness in all areas of your life and embrace this miraculous life that you've been called to live.
Is it fear that we need to let go of? Is it unnecessary stress? Come on, is it those unidentified triggers? What is it? What hobbies do I need to let go of? What people do I need to let go of? What opinions of people do I need to let go of? What's wasting my time? And so when sacrifice becomes your companion, it is only then that we can begin to step into the process of what is required to climb mountains. Everybody wants to get to the top of the mountain, but nobody wants to climb. Sacrifice is going to build me. Sacrifice is going to prepare me. I'm going to be equipped. I'm going to be conditioned. Destiny is haunting us, breathing down our necks, asking us, when are we going to step forward? When are we going to march into this thing? Michael Jordan has a $2 billion net worth. That's beautiful. But what was the cost for all of that? How did he win games? How did he win championships? How hard did he practice? How crazy was his faith? How many vacations did Michael Jordan have to turn down? How many parties did he have to walk out of? How many people had to be amputated out of his life? Everybody wants to celebrate the $2 billion evaluation of his enterprise, but it came at a cost. It came with some sleepless nights. It came with some long practices. It came with a lot of no's. No, I can't do the party. No, I'm not gonna do the drinking. No, I'm not connecting with them. No, I don't need that circle. No, it came with a lot of no's. It came with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of rejecting. It comes with a lot of awareness of what is not serving the vision. Had a temperature of over 100 degrees and won the game over the Jazz in '95, a champion. But he sacrificed comfort. He sacrificed convenience. He had to sacrifice and reject the voices in his head that said, you're crazy, you're sick, you need to rest, you need to sit down. If I'm going to seek success, I've got to define what sacrifices are required in order to step into it. I cannot have it. I will not see it until I've counted up the cost. You'll find yourself connected to 100 people that think they know what you should be doing to get where you're supposed to be. And so I've got to begin to shut the mouths of the people that don't know the cost, the price that I have to pay. You may have paid that, but I may not have to pay that price. I can learn from your mistakes. I don't have to fall down the same ditches you fell down. I don't have to flop down the same stairs you flopped down. That's your price. That's your cost. I've got another way. I've got a different mentality. I just may be a little bit more creative than you. I just may be a little bit more innovative. I just may have more faith than you. I don't have to fall like you fell. I don't have to hurt like you hurt. I can look up and get up. When did you get to the point where you snapped so easily? When you let go so easily? When you gave up so easily? I know what it's like to feel like, if I keep going, I'm gonna waste my time. We all get to this point in our life where we ask ourselves the question, what have I held on to that should have been amputated? All of us are holding on to something that is familiar and we are comfortable, and it has become our paradigm, our pattern, our way of life. And if we're honest, we can't see ourselves without this thing. I don't know what it is for you. Everybody's got a different thing, person, place, something that needs to be amputated out of our life, cut off, that's no longer serving us. And so my question to you really is, I know you have your eyes on success, the end game, the trophy, but what conveniences haven't we let go of? that have become cancerous to us. If we're honest, we should be able to write out a whole list of things that we're not doing that we were destined to do, but our forward motion has been halted by something. Are you willing to confess to yourself, what haven't you been willing to surrender? Why is it that you think what's killing you is helping you? You're bleeding out. You're directionless. You don't even have an idea where you are. And you're so comfortable, yet you're so annoyed because there's something deep down on the inside of you that knows that you're not where you're supposed to be. And so now we've got to start talking about the things that we need to sacrifice. What is it that needs to be amputated? That I thought was assigned to be an aid to me. That I thought was a help. That I thought was an assignment is actually my assassin. It's the things in our life that we think are helping us, that we're assigned to, that are oftentimes assigned to kill us. What have you clinged to that should have been amputated years ago? I don't know what it is. You know, I don't have to know. You need to know. Is it laziness? Is it procrastination? Is it ego? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it rejection?